Hey everybody, welcome to the 27 Virtual Podcast. This is our very first podcast, so welcome. My name is William Grismore. I'm the co-founder of 27 Virtual, and with me is...
I'm Andrew Grismore. I am one of the senior consultants at 27 Virtual, and spoiler alert, I am Bill's son.
Oh my goodness. Like father, like son, I guess. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining this very, very first podcast from 27 Virtual. And we're going to be doing this on a regular basis. So this will be on our YouTube channel. And we'll have a 27 Virtual podcast wherever podcasts can be found. So be sure to check that out. And I think, we wanted to start today just with a quick intro. So I'm just going to talk about myself just for a minute, then we'll turn over to Andrew. So again, Bill Grismore, 27 Virtual, originally from the great state of Iowa, down in Florida since '86. Been doing IT pretty much my whole life. Started back, in the day with Novell NetWare and Microsoft, Cisco, VMware, and so on. And, I started this business back in 2016. And, the focus of the business at that time was around NSX. I'm based in Pembroke Pines, Florida. And I'm a big fan I love college basketball. I love the tournament coming up. Pretty much from a football standpoint, I say college football would be second, and then some pro sports, probably, NFL, NBA, not so much, are kind of my things. And then I love to work out, like to go for runs. And I have a wife and two kids, and one of them sitting right here. So Andrew, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, you bred me to be an Iowa Hawkeye fan, so that's what I am. And this year is pretty exciting. It's not so often that we get to cheer on a potential Wooden Award winner, a top 5 ranked team. It's a pretty fun season, I got to admit. So yeah, absolutely. And I'm Andrew once again. I'm here in Orlando, Florida. Grew up, not surprisingly, in Bill's house in Pembroke Pines up until about a few years ago. And it's great to be here. I love working with you. And a little bit about my background is, I went to school. I was focused in molecular biology, thought about becoming a doctor until I realized that it's not really my thing. So I've always been interested in the technology side. And from the start, I've had that kind of in my life in the background. And it was only a natural progression to jump right into the IT industry. So Bill and I have both taught for VMware, taught the education classes. We both taught in the Ninja program as well for NSX. So if you've heard of that, that's out there. And that's kind of one of the parts of 27 Virtual that we run the Ninja program. And what we've done is we've really taken the book smarts that we have to the streets with our customers. So it really just made sense for Bill to take all the knowledge that we had surrounding NSX and go from enabling customers, partners in VMware to actually doing this work in the field. And it's only blown up from there. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to this podcast and sharing the experiences that we've had in our work adventures with all of you guys.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So, as a company, the reason I started this business was, we saw a lot of opportunities around, NSX specifically. So we're out there, globally training, VMware partners, VMware customers, on NSX V at the time. And there just seemed to be a really big need for people to get help getting NSX deployed. So, our company was running this Ninja program. And I should probably give, props to Rodney McIntosh for doing a great job, with that NSX Ninja program. Rodney and some of the folks at VMware, like Chris McCain and those folks, do a great job, running that Ninja program. And, what we basically did is build upon that and expanded it into a consulting business, because we just felt that, people just really needed a lot of help. NSX is a fairly complex product. There's a lot going on from, especially the edge up to the routed environment and how that works. So that's kind of where we got started. So if you think about, our company from a beginning standpoint, it was like an education business that has now evolved into having both a consulting business and an education business. And they're actually two separate companies. just to be clear, but there's a lot of good cross synergy, between those different companies. So, and I think, Andrew, I think you can probably talk about that. So, we took you from being, in the classroom to in the field doing deployments. Can you talk about that and, why that's important to our customers?
Yeah, one of the future podcasts that I want to do is actually talk about the transition in my life to really becoming a solid consultant for a VMware partner and going from the classroom to working with customers. And although that transition had its challenges, I'm a couple years past it and really feel confident working with our customers. But yes, the fact that we are instructors and consultants really, to me, brings about a uniqueness in what we do. And a perfect example is a project that I'm working with right now with one of our customers, and it's surrounding VMware Cloud Foundation. And what we're doing with them is we're doing a VCF stand-up and we're doing a data center migration to bring workloads to the new VCF stand-up. And it would be really easy, and I think what happens all too often is for the VCF stand-up to take place. So bring up the hardware, instantiate the VCF, fill out all the parameters that are necessary from an NSX standpoint, from a vSphere, from a storage standpoint, and say, here you go, customer, here it is. The only issue with that is that the customer has to then take care of it from there. And yes, you could say, well, we're going to go to a VMware education class, and that's fantastic. I highly recommend that. But what you want is the partner that you're working with to get all of this done to actually help you understand what's being stood up, why it's happening, what points to what in terms of why do I need this IP address space? What am I assigning this VLAN to? What are these subnets for? And what we do is we actually incorporate the learning process that we take from our time in the classroom and bring that into the experience that the customer has with us as we actually deploy this in the real world. So, for example, what we just did last week was we went through the entirety of how traffic flows in an NSX environment, utilizing all the IP addresses, parameters, and so forth that the customer gave us for their VCF stand-up. So now it's not just a, hey, we're going to bring up this edge cluster with NSXT inside of your workload domain. It's a, hey, I know exactly what's going on with my tier 1, with my tier 0, how traffic is going to flow from my VM through my edge out to the physical world. And that is a huge differentiating factor, and one of the reasons I think that our customers really enjoy working with us.
Yeah, and this is a podcast, and people can watch this on YouTube as well. But we're not going to show any diagrams here, but I really like the way you did that. People can't see it, but Andrew does a great job of visually representing, especially with VCF, because you got the management domain, you got the workload domain. There's a couple of things going on there, and what he does a really good job of is showing the customer, what that looks like in a visual format. So it's not just filling out this worksheet that you get from the VCF Cloud Builder stand-up process, but actually showing the customers what that looks like in a Visio diagram type format where they can see all those IP addresses, where it connects, and everyone's a little bit different. They're like a snowflake as far as how they connect up. Is the connection going to be to the top of rack? Where is that layer 3 division going to be? And especially with edges for the management domain and edges for the workload, domain, can be fairly complex. So taking that special skill set we have from an educational background and be able to convey that to the customer in a very nice, simplified manner that's easy to understand, that's something we really pride ourselves in, making it very easy to understand, what that deployment looks like in the end and helping the customer have it. So once it's deployed, they're not in the dark. They know not only the worksheet that we filled out, but exactly how it connects, why we made the decisions to why it connects, all the troubleshooting and validation testing we do once it's stood up, so that when we leave the customer with the product, they have something that they have, real confidence with.
Yeah, and I think that confidence translates not only to their better utilization of the current products that we help them bring up, but it also removes any fear from forging forward into the newer realms of technology, because we take away that level of fear. We bring that confidence level up, and then all of a sudden, the next cycle when there's a new iteration or a new product that comes out that can really help them with their needs. It's not a, well, I'm still trying to figure out NSX and VCF that we stood up a year ago. I'm not really sure how that works. Maybe I should go figure that out at some point. I know it is working, it's there, but I'm not really sure what it does. How can I add more onto that platform? It just doesn't add up. But when you have that level of confidence, it really changes the customer perspective on what they've done. It gives them a sense of ownership over their own environment. And that's what it takes for them to really advance and go forward. And I think that's just, again, one of the unique properties that we bring. And where this business came from was us seeing that every day as we traveled, for me, around the country, whether it be doing marketing events for when vRealize Network Insight first came out and enabling partners there, or going to VMUG user cons and just having conversations with customers that are trying to take advantage of NSX maybe, but just aren't sure where to start, or maybe are having struggles, or even just considering buying it in the first place. And then, NSX is not our only capability. And Bill, you want to talk about that a little bit? Because our capabilities have really grown, expanded, and blossomed across the VMware portfolio in the kinds of services that we can provide in this way.
Yeah, I mean, even just vSphere. I mean, there's still vSphere projects going on out there. Like we're doing one right now for a very large company that has manufacturing facilities all over the world, and multiple in China, actually. And we're rebuilding their entire vSphere infrastructure, and there's no NSX there at all, right? So we have that capability. So if we go back to that beginning, I know everybody's thinking cloud, nowadays, and moving things to the cloud, no matter what that platform is, but there are still plenty of customers out there that are going to be using vSphere as their core on-prem solution, even just core vSphere.
Talk about like an upgrade to vSphere 7 so they can use the enhanced VDS for NSX. Those kinds of projects can be the base of where we start. But vSphere, NSX, Horizon, vSAN, vRealize Suite, including vRealize Automation, maybe most importantly, including vRealize Automation, because once you get your basic layer of virtualization in place, so vSAN, vSphere, NSX, and then combine all that for VCF, how do you get the most out of those platforms? vRealize Automation. And we have skill sets in all of those. And we have that ability to teach along the way and actually turn this into a viable, future usable solution for our customers. And
yeah. I want to go back to the thing that you said about, making it so the customer can get the most out of the product. So I had a customer just this last week that I was working with, and it was an environment that was a VCF environment, and VCF was already stood up, but this is one of those cases where it was stood up by somebody else, and they did not enable, the customer on the product. It was there, it was working, they knew it was working. And, they had never actually done, the basic failover testing, to make sure that if this goes down, this is going to keep working, right? So, when we leave a customer with a solution, it's not going to be like that. When we leave a customer with a solution, it's going to be architected, deployed, validated, and all done in parallel with the customer, so they can see all those steps. Now, there is turnover at companies, sometimes, and maybe the people that were there for the initial deployment may not be with the organization anymore. There is some of that. But, we do want to make sure that for the people that are there, at least at that time, that they're fully enabled, and then they have all the documentation they need, to make sure that they have everything they need to be able to support that solution. So documentation is important, very detailed documentations all the way through beginning to end. Making sure they have a great knowledge transfer session with that. And then that day two operationalizing everything from logging, monitoring, and some people forget, like with NSX, vRealize Network Insight is the management tool, for NSX. And along with standard logging and alerting, vRealize operations integration, all those things. But, as a company, we have evolved from being just an NSX only partner. We love NSX, and right now we're doing a lot of these V to T migrations at this point in time. But we do Horizon services, with the event of COVID. And I know you're doing a project right now around Horizon and NSX. Is that right?
Yeah, I think a lot of our most successful projects include more than just one of the products that are offered from VMware. So sure, we can do individualized NSX deployments, we can do individualized Horizon, whatever it may be, but oftentimes we see a greater benefit when we actually combine them. So add in the layer of network virtualization and security, and now you get enhanced capabilities when you bring in your virtual desktop environment, whether it be having the ability to spin up networks on the fly, stretch out those networks, utilize the distributed firewalling capabilities, and do identity-based firewalling. So an enhancement or a combination of NSX and Horizon. Same is true for projects that we've done with previous customers, where we not only install NSX into a vSphere environment, but also add on the vRealize automation capabilities and start helping them automate processes that may have taken them days or weeks to do before, and now allow them to do in a matter of seconds. It's that same idea of how it used to be to bring up a physical machine, and now what does it take to bring up a VM? But now we're talking about networks, security, and full-blown applications all being brought up at once, and even beyond that. So I think a lot of our best work is when we get to utilize multiple of our capabilities together.
All right, so to kind of summarize, 27 Virtual can support vSphere, as basic as that may seem.
Yes.
And then we can do NSX T. And of course, now we're in that time frame right now, depending on when you're listening to this, V to T migrations, vSAN, and then those three wrap up into VCF.
Yes.
And then on top of VCF, we have vRealize Suite, which would include vRealize automation, orchestration, vRealize Network Insight and Log Insight.
Yep.
That's the package
as well.
And that can be, if it's part of VCF, of course, you get the benefits of the updating, the version control, and so on that goes with that.
Yes.
And then we can also do automation projects. And we've done recently a lot of Horizon work. And then Horizon with NSX to make sure that the virtual desktops are secure, whether that's regular security or identity-based firewall, which is a perfect match, for Horizon. Yep. And then the other thing you're doing right now, one of the last things, I know we run out of time here, but one of the last things I want to mention, this project you're working on, isn't there some HCX in there as well?
Yep. Yeah. So across the entirety of the virtual cloud network, so we're talking NSX, HCX, the VMware clouds, the regular native cloud in terms of network virtualization. We have capabilities across there. Avi, software to SDN, what am I looking for, Bill? The VeloCloud. Yeah. So all across the spectrum, we have those capabilities, and we're happy to help move the conversation along, whether it's from a pre-sales perspective or going into the post-sales side. And you've got experience on both of those. So what we wanted to do with this podcast is really just give you guys an introduction as to who we are. And some of the things that you can look forward to are just some of our personal development journeys that we've had. Like I mentioned, there are a few things that I want to talk about as far as what makes a good consultant and the things that I've learned as we go along. So personal development, professional development, talk about the technology, some of the lessons that we've learned in the field that you won't find in a classroom, or at least you won't unless you've got someone like us teaching it, of course, where we've had that field experience, but things that you won't see in necessarily the courseware, but that we've just learned over time that make a big difference across those VMware products that we work in. And we'll give you guys some of that insight as you go along. So if you're interested in a conversational type of podcast where you can hop into YouTube, pop it on for 15 minutes or so and learn something new about how to improve yourself, your career, your technological knowledge. That's what we're just trying to pass along here in this podcast. And we really hope you enjoy it going forward. So that's a little bit about us. Bill, you have anything to add before we wrap up?
No, I think that's perfect. So we're, I guess the main thing is that, what's unique about 27 Virtual is this unique combination of having a very strong educational background tied with a very strong in-field experience background, putting those two together, giving customers the best of both worlds across all the different VMware products, and then getting really good solutions and really good enablement for our customers. And like Andrew said in these podcasts, we want to be able to convey, some good tidbits here and there about what we've learned and really help customers being able to get the products deployed and really get the most of those applications can deliver, what the customers really need out of their apps.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Look forward to the next one, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you, everybody.